Josh, the most obvious things happened again.
Go on.
The game that we were all looking forward to, every single one of us, the Suicide Squad, has been delayed until 2024.
No, I think you've got Japan brain still, Scott. You're still like jet lag. This game is definitely coming out this year, right?
This game that was not delayed indefinitely last time we talked about it has now been delayed until 2024. I'll read out the statement and then I'll read out a couple of little things from some known insiders as to what the hell's going on with the game. So this is an official announcement initially from the Twitter account just saying we have made the tough but necessary decision to take the time needed to work on getting the Suicide Squad game to be the best quality experience for players. Thank you to our amazing community.
Oh!
Amazing community for the continued support, patience and understanding. There is so much to share in the months ahead and we look forward to seeing you in Metropolis next year. I feel so sorry for the people still trying to make this game work.
Yeah, me too, man. I feel like I need some kind of real deep dive into what's been going on at the studio for the past 8 years, 9 years by the time this goes out. It will have been since they released Batman Arkham Knight, which is a crazy length of time for any studio, but especially one as prolific as Rocksteady, who pumped that Arkham trilogy out like really quickly by pumped it out by AAA standards, and like they seemed like they were on a run, and then we've hit this 9-year roadblock, and now they're releasing a game that everyone deemed as dated as soon as we got a first look at the gameplay.
If you told me that the guys who pioneered, Arkham Asylum and just how complete that game was, how perfect the vision of a game that was, the pivot into Arkham City, and then how gorgeous Arkham Knight looked, that they would then spend 9 years turning around a Suicide Squad game, which in itself was in the weird haggard state going from different teams within Warner Brothers and whatever, to just try and get this sludge over the finish line. I wouldn't have believed you, which is how ridiculous this stuff is. So a tweet from Windows Central's Jez Corden, who said that I heard that part of the delay for Suicide Squad is to remove/rework the always online component. That was one of the most hated parts of the most recent gameplay reveal. The fact that you just have to be always connected to the game. I feel like the problems, we'll get back to them, but I feel like the problems are much wider than just the always online stuff. I feel like it's a general feel to the game, which is it's too close to the Avengers game, which is obviously hated and has gone offline at this point, which is kind of weird and twistedly hilarious in itself. Bloomberg Station Schreier also tweeted saying that 9 months is not enough time to completely change the nature of the game, or any game. The team was told that the delay was for polish and not related to the February gameplay showcase, which is hilarious. But I guess that just means that it's not necessarily related to how the gameplay was received. A lot of people said the gameplay, if you just siphon it, draw a ring around it, gameplay is fine. It was everything else that looked terrible. Schreier says, to be clear, polish can mean lots of things, from performance optimization to balance tweaks to bug fixes to server stability. Folks are surprised that dev would take 9 extra months to polish a game, but that's actually normal these days. It's the 9 years between games that is less normal.
That's it, right? Because I didn't know how long the delay was going to be when it was initially delayed. We were so close to launch, or so it seemed, that I thought it might be like 3 or 4 months maybe to give the game like that kind of final push of polish. I didn't expect wide-reaching changes to the overall structure, like you mentioned, to like the live service elements or anything like that, or even like the core gameplay. However, like 9 months isn't, like Schreier says, entirely out of like the realm of something being dangerously wrong. You look at something like Starfield, which was supposed to come out last November, is now coming out this September. That kind of last-minute delay, it's long, and they shouldn't announce release dates like that if they know they're not going to be able to hit them. But it doesn't, to me, scream like, oh my god, everything's on fire, we need to change everything. I'm not viewing this delay as, okay, we're going to go back to the drawing board.
No.
I do think they just will take away some of the more egregious parts, like the always online component, but fundamentally we're still going to get a very similar experience to what we've seen, though maybe with some of the rougher edges sanded down.
The thing that this reminded me of, and this is a weird comparison, potentially I guess we'll see what state the game finally releases in, but it reminded me of all the stuff with Star Wars Battlefront 2 back in 2017, the whole idea of that game. We were coming up to launch, and it was obviously revealed that there were all sorts of loot-based components in there. There was all the star card system, there was the whole thing, in theory, about paying your way through playing the game, and it was like the day before launch or the day of launch, between review outlets getting it and the public getting it, where all the storefront stuff was just gutted from the game. All the monetization side of it was just completely removed from the game. That was in November 2017, and then all the wider systems for that game came online in March 2018. So DICE back then did turn around quite a sizable amount of, we're talking more about monetization of already existing assets and not changing really core components of the game, like a story component or something like that. But it reminded me of that. It reminded me of such a last minute, this is what we're doing, guys. guys. Oh, actually, no, we're not. And everybody hates that, and we need to change this. I really don't see this coming together. I just don't see this ever working.
Well, here's the thing, right? I think this is going to make the game the very best version of the game that it can be. I've said the game a lot there. But will that be a game that people enjoy? Because is the issue that people have with the game, God, I'm losing my mind, we haven't done this in a while, the video game, is the issue that people have with the title, like, down to the core gameplay, or is it down to the more egregious live service elements? Will they be able to kind of like get over that hurdle, and will they find an audience that really loves things like Destiny, or really loves things like Warframe, and it really appeal to them? Like, if they released a version of Suicide Squad right now that kind of was content light, but also had a load of bugs, had a load of issues similar to Gotham Knights last year, which kind of killed that game dead on arrival. But Scott, it wasn't great that game ran the way it did at launch. And if this ran the way Gotham Knights did, I think they'd have a much harder uphill battle. And hopefully this delay, to me, indicates that developers are finally getting the memo that they can't just release something like The Avengers or Anthem or Gotham Knights or Battlefront 2 and expect people to stick around. Like, that has worked for some games, but it's a dangerous, dangerous play.
The thing is, I don't know if I'm just too cynical with the industry at this point, where 2017 was Battlefront 2, it was For Honor, it was Shadow of War, it was some of the worst loot box implementation stuff, some of the most money-grubby predatory stuff in the industry. We're now 6 years from that, and it's not like we've really meaningfully moved on from cynical game design. It still feels like we have things. To me, Suicide Squad overall, from what we've seen in the gameplay they've showed us and the general design doc that seems to be that game, it's too cynical, it's too market designed, it's too algorithmically approached. Like, it just feels like some weird ChatGPT AI, corporate AI, just said, this is what will sell. This is what the kids like. Yes. Suicide Squad, right, let's do that. These systems, this UI, this progression through the level, this gameplay. I just don't buy it. It doesn't have a soul. I don't see it living. I don't see it living in the future.
Here's the thing. I want the best version of this game, because while I agree with you that the gameplay does not appeal to me, I don't want to rush around Metropolis shooting guns as superheroes and firing at the purple weak spots of enemies over and over again. I don't want to do that, but I am incredibly intrigued by the story and the framing. I think all of the cinematic trailers I've watched so far, for me, look really intriguing. It's not the best writing in the world from what we've seen, but I like the concept. I really like the characterization of the Suicide Squad themselves that are in here. I love the potential risks they're taking with, maybe like fully committing to the idea of killing off these heroes.
Yeah.
That side of it, and Rocksteady's pedigree previously with the Arkham trilogy and the stories and characters there makes me intrigued in this game in a way that I just am not about so many of the live service 4-player titles.
The thing is, you mentioned before about you're way more optimistic about this than me. I think I'm just too cynical about this. But the whole idea of the money people get in the memo and prioritizing the devs and prioritizing creativity and being able to free up the time to try and do something more good with this overall experience.
Yes.
I just think it's damage control. I think that they started with an algorithmic thing and they looked at the backlash and they just went, the best thing for us in a cold hard business sense is to just delay it and try and get some money out of it next year.
Don't get me wrong.
That's all I think this is.
The memo that I thought that has been received from this does not say, oh, we messed up, let the creators do whatever they want and go back to the drawing board and fix this.
That's what I send them every day.
It is what you said there. It is, oh wow, if we release this in this state and it is buggy and it has the always online component that people don't like amongst other things, this is going to be a disaster. Let's not do what we have done before with other releases like Gotham Knights. Let's at least steer the ship a little bit in that direction. So that's what I kind of think that they've taken away from this, rather than the grand sweeping changes of, oh, in totality this was a bad idea, we should have just made another single player superhero game.
Yeah, the thing is though, if they say they take the always online stuff out and it's been 9 months later, it's next year, they get that little bit of social media buzz where people go, oh, they listen to us, the Sonic thing of like, oh, it's cool, they listen to us, they removed the always online, we won. I still don't think that the Suicide Squad as an overall, I just don't think they're appealing enough to be worth a 9-year dev time. I don't necessarily see this recouping or just working after this long.
Here's the thing, it might not then. It definitely wouldn't this year. When could it release in 2023 and not have stiff competition? It comes out in a few months' time. It goes up against Zelda. It comes out at the end of the year. It was Star Wars. It comes out at the end of the year. You're up against Starfield. You're up against Spider-Man 2. You're up against like these big hitters. I just genuinely don't think that it would have even had a slot had it come out this year that would have allowed it to compete against other games that people are really, 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 really looking forward to.
That's true. I think it's just they're in such a weird position now where it's been in development for so long, and we've seen weird snippets of it. We've seen different amounts of gameplay, different cinematic trailers, things that try to frame different aspects of it to try and play that card of it works as a single player experience. You can come up with this really good story thing, but also it's always, well, not anymore, but it was always online, 4-player, squad stuff, loot-based experience.
The thing is, Gotham Knights really did work as a solo experience.
Yes!
Like, I didn't love that game, but I also didn't hate it. And I loved that while it was designed around co-op, it didn't matter if you played it in single player. I still got a lot out of that experience, and there were only a few side missions where I thought, this isn't designed for me. I don't get that feeling though, which is a shame. When I look at Suicide Squad, I think if I don't have friends with me, this is going to be a lesser experience than if I had 3 other people to team up and play this game with me.
Yeah, I'll like my thoughts kind of come down to the fact of how long this has been in development, and I don't just mean with Rocksteady. I forget the exact year, but there's been a Suicide Squad game under Warner Brothers for about a decade now, and it started with many other teams underneath Warner Brothers, and for whatever reason, that eventually ended up with Rocksteady. And I just feel like that many people being involved in it, it's a Duke Nukem Forever situation. It's like there is no creative vision to this anymore. In terms of there being like an authored vision, it's not like you're going back to a Kevin Feige type or a Kojima or a whoever who can guide it all the way through and someone to come to and go, no, this is what I always wanted it to be.
Yeah.
At this stage, it's just get it over the finish line and get rid of it.
It is crazy that they've committed so much to just getting a Suicide Squad game made at all. Like, you look at the reports that are like 6 or 7 years old at this point, talking about how many projects both Rocksteady and WB Montreal had in development at some point and how many of them were cancelled. And the fact that WB all the way through that has gone, no, it doesn't matter if it's with you, or if it's with you. We're getting a Suicide Squad game out, whether it takes us 2 decades, god damn it, whether there's been 2 reboots in the movie universe since then or not, we're getting that game made, and here we are 9 years later, and it's finally been made, but it's going to take even more time.
It's just the sunk cost fallacy, and like you said, the 2 movies, the most recent movie bombed, even though it was a drastically superior movie to the first one. But Suicide Squad as an entity, for me personally, I just don't see it. I don't see it making all this worth it. I think if the Avengers can't work, then I think Suicide Squad is even harder. But I guess we'll wait and see. Let us know what you think down in the comments below of these Suicide Squad's latest delay, and if you're gonna be getting it anyway, or you're just gonna wait and see what state it's in next year. For now, I'm Scott from WhatCulture.com.
I think Josh from WhatCulture.com.
And we'll catch you next time.
Bye.
Japan.
Do you enjoy yourself?
I had a lovely time.
Is this from Japan?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Everything's from Japan.